What should you expect from the Steelers and Chiefs Sunday night wildcard game and from the Cardinals-Rams Monday night game? It's time to find out right here and right now as we finish breaking down Super Wildcard Weekend on Locked On Fantasy Football.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. As usual, I'm your host, Vinnie Iyer, and when I'm not doing this, I'm breaking down NFL games from a reality and fantasy football perspective for sportingnews.com. I also do mock drafts, power rankings, all that good stuff here. We've got you covered going in to the wild card weekend here, super wild card weekend. That means we have 3 days of action, Saturday, Sunday, all the way through Monday night. We will break down the final two games. If you missed our breakdown of the Saturday games there between the Raiders and Bengals and Patriots and Bills, we did that on Tuesday. Then we turned the page to looking at the two NFC matchups early on Sunday, the Eagles and Buccaneers and 49ers and Cowboys. Now it's time to wrap up with the two primetime games on the slate here. Sunday Night Football as the Steelers travel again to the Chiefs. So this is a rematch from a Week 16 game in the playoffs. And we know the Cardinals and Rams have played each other twice and split. They will decide things here with the Rams, the NFC West champions, hosting the number 5 seed Cardinals there to close out this great weekend of football there on MNF and, of course, the Manningcast. So check that out. And here we'll have our in-depth breakdown of those games. So we want to make sure that we've got you covered here. So we're giving each game a complete segment here, how we think it's playing out from fantasy and gambling perspective. Then we'll end with an interesting segment here to close the show. Yesterday, we counted down the best quarterbacks in this year's playoffs. Now, the running backs are a little bit different, but we're going to do that here. So not one for every team. Spoiler alert there, but we'll count down backwards for the running backs you can trust most in the playoffs here to have a big impact for their teams, however long they're making a run toward Super Bowl 56 in Los Angeles. Before we dive into our breakdown of the Steelers-Chiefs, thanks for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen every day. We are free and available to you on all platforms. All right, Steelers-Chiefs, the first time these teams met, it was no contest in Arrowhead in Kansas City. It was 36-10. So this Chiefs team was all over the Steelers here. Their defense had really got on a roll there in the middle of the season. Now, since there have been some tougher games for the Chiefs, including against the Chargers and against the Bengals there, two more potent offenses. But the Steelers, even in winning their final two games that they needed against the Browns and Ravens, still not a lot to see offensively. Ben Roethlisberger has already joked about this game that the Steelers have already lost. They're going to go out and have some fun here. So they have nothing to lose, which could be good here for letting it loose and working in the pass game. So let's start with the Steelers. The Chiefs really shut down Najee Harris. Part of it is the game script went negative pretty early there for the Steelers. Their line blocking has been questionable all year. They're one of the worst running games overall. So Najee Harris is going to have to make up for it, as he always does, as a receiver and scorer in this one. So I just don't see a lot of scoring. And I think, again, the Steelers need to be aggressive to win this game. It didn't work to try to be conservative and play ball control to beat the Chiefs. You have to go out there and actually beat Patrick Mahomes. So Ben Roethlisberger, again, this could be his last game. It probably will be, unless they win it, which I don't see happening. 12.5-point favorites the Chiefs are, 46 the over-under. So volume alone, Roethlisberger has some appeal. It was good to get Chase Claypool warmed up again and got back in the end zone there. He's had a very quiet second season. Part of it, again, is not being able to stretch the field. And part of it, I think, with Matt Canada is not using Claypool in the variety of roles. I think he could be a Deebo Samuel for this team if they use him right, but they just don't. And that's on Canada. And ironically, Matt Canada is also the guy with the last name of where Chase Claypool has come from in Vancouver. So let's try to get him going in this game against the Chiefs secondary. I think he can cause some problems here. So Deontay Johnson, we know, has been pretty solid here, and he's going to come through. He always does here. Always a good chance to score. Pat Freiermuth also has a good chance to score in this one. good tight end matchup for him. But Chase Claypool is a bit of a wild card. He's not a bad tournament type play here. Dart throw, people might be off him still, even though he had a decent game in Week 18 against the Ravens. Again, the Chiefs, I think, have maybe the ability to contain Deontay Johnson a little bit more. But Claypool, if they can get him loose and get him the ball downfield, he has a shot to do something here. So let's see if the Steelers do that, and Roethlisberger's attitude kind of helps there in that. But I think it's going to be high volume, so keep in mind Roethlisberger is going to have to throw. There might be more opportunities for garbage time. The Chiefs have a very good defensive front led by Chris Jones, so that's going to be the concern, keeping Roethlisberger upright and not pressured to the point of he can't push the ball anywhere. So that's been also an issue. On top of the arm strength, it's just pushing it downfield. So I think they'll got to get Claypool more involved in this one because, again, if you can't get it to him downfield, get it to him in the open field on shorter passes and runs here. So I do like him as a nice sleeper here coming in. He's a disappointing season, but I think they're going to unleash him a little bit in playoffs. I think Harris is going to be underwhelming here among the running backs and their scoring here, especially on the Sunday slate. So keep that in mind. I would pivot in a different direction there. But again, Roethlisberger, he's not going to play all that poorly in his last game. He did have a meltdown against the Browns in the wild card round last year, but keep in mind the Steelers made a big comeback and he put up some numbers there. So I think it could play very similar to that, where the Chiefs have a big enough lead, maybe even bigger than last time, where the Steelers can get a little bit more garbage up here in the passing game. So again, Claypool, I think, is a better matchup than Johnson. Johnson a little bit more reliable. The Chiefs have been so-so against the tight end all year. So I wouldn't extend here. They're pretty much have been a four-man offense in the skill positions here, and that's hurt the Steelers as well. They can't diversify behind the offensive line and really beyond those players. So again, I think the Steelers will maybe sneak into the 20s in this one potentially, but I still see the Chiefs rolling here in this game. So I had a 33-19 just outside of that 12.5-point spread, but I can see the Steelers putting up a few more points. At least they're going to get, to me, a couple scores in this game. Maybe you have to go for two and get stuck in that situation. So again, Roethlisberger, I figure both of them are going to come through the air from him, and maybe a 250-2 performance here, and maybe they extend to a third touchdown as well, which would give him a little bit more appeal in this game. Now, for the Chiefs side of things, I think they'll easily put up 3 and maybe 4 scores in this game. They should move the ball rather well. The Steelers have been up and down against the tight end. We've seen it in the past couple of weeks. Did give up big games there to Mark Andrews. So Travis Kelce is going to rebound this game. I think the pass rush and knowing that the Steelers struggle against the run. Remember the correlation, struggling against the run, covering the tight end in most cases. I think Kelce has a big game. I think they run pretty effectively. We'll see if Clyde Edwards-Helaire can return. He's obviously a nice play there, but if not, Darrell Williams has a lot of a play in this one over Derek Gore. Derek Gore gets his touches, but again, Darrell Williams seems to get the key work in terms of the receiving and the scoring potential there. So we'll watch that. I actually like Darrell Williams a little bit more than if Clyde Edwards-Helaire plays in this game, because Laird's going to have to split the work with Williams and Gore a little bit more, but it takes one more guy out of it, and Edwards-Helaire doesn't play. So something to keep in mind there with the Chiefs, but I think the principles for the Chiefs. Tyreek Hill, maybe a little bit of tough matchup to push it downfield with TJ Watt and some of the good corner depth that the Steelers have inside and outside. So maybe another quieter game for Hill, but I see this as a big running game and Kelce game, open things up, and we'll see. I think it's going to be a random other receivers step up. We've seen Byron Pringle. We've seen Demarcus Robinson. We've seen Mecole Hardman all take turns here. Really, the focus has been containing Hill. I don't think Hill's been like 100% or right in stretching the field. That's also hurt. So I think by committee here. So temper expectations for Hill. You got to drop him down into that wide receiver 3 range based on recent production. Kelce rebounds and smashes it. And I think this Chiefs running game is going to do well. And the defense in this one, get some sacks and turnovers there from Roethlisberger, even with some of the digits he'll put up in this game. But yeah, I do like the Steelers to win. I had it again, 33-19 here. So I do like the over. It's a 46 point. I say the Chiefs to win over the Steelers, 33-19. I do like the game in that sense, going over the 46 points and giving the Steelers a little bit more opportunity for garbage. The Chiefs a little bit more opportunity for some tack on points here in the second half. We'll break down the Other rematch here on primetime for the wild card weekend. That's Monday Night Football. Yeah, our first ever Monday night NFL playoff game between the Cardinals and Rams in Los Angeles. Break that game down in full for you. I got to tell you that we're all looking for an edge these days in the playoffs, and I'd like to thank OnlineGambling.com for sponsoring today's podcast. Locked on Fantasy Football fans, if you don't know already, OnlineGambling.com is a website dedicated to giving bettors the edge throughout the playoffs. They're providing you with the best NFL tips, news, and more to help you make your bets as informed as ever. The experts at OnlineGambling.com have set me up with the challenge of putting my own knowledge to the test and coming up with my early Super Bowl prediction to see how much of an expert I really am. So, really, I'm going with the Packers over the Chiefs, going straight down the line here with the favorites, but I do like that matchup playing. Now, I do have a couple sleepers there for you to watch out. I think the sleeper for me in the AFC is the Cincinnati Bengals, and the sleeper in the NFC is the Dallas Cowboys. So we'll watch that very carefully, but that's how it would look. If I'm not going with the favorites, I'm going to dig deep and find some sleepers, and that would be my alternative matchup to Packers over Chiefs would be Cowboys over Bengals. If you're planning to place a bet during the playoffs, make sure you head to onlinegambling.com before you do. Onlinegambling.com gives bettors the edge by providing the best and most trusted experience online all day, every day. That includes their OG tip section where you find their own Super Bowl picks, as well as the inside track on how to beat the odds throughout the NFL playoffs. Make sure you visit onlinegambling.com/NFL for all the latest gambling news, tips, and information to beat the odds and give you the edge throughout the playoffs. Remember, it's onlinegambling.com/NFL to make the most out of this year's playoffs. All right, it's time to continue the show here, and we'll do that in a moment to breaking down for you Cardinals-Rams. Thanks again for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen every day. We're free and available to you on all platforms. Cardinals, Rams, the first two games were wild ones. The Cardinals pulled away in the first meeting. They're way back at week 4 in Los Angeles. The Rams won a few weeks ago to take control of the NFC West. But go figure, the Cardinals like this matchup because they're on the road. They were 8-1 on the road during the regular season. The Rams were 7-2 on the road. So two teams are not as good as home. The Cardinals were 3-5. The Rams were only 5-3. Speaking of 3-5, the spread is 3.5 now. It was 4 in favor of the Rams. So slowly tilting towards the Cardinals. I do like the Cardinals still to cover. I like the 3.5 and 4. I actually like the Cardinals to win outright in this one. 49.5 is the over-under. I think with these offenses on the field, it will definitely go over and into the 50s. A lot of people are playing the under based on some of the turnovers these teams can make. But I think the Cardinals and Rams are going to live up to the hype for the third time here and really build on the first two matchups where you'll have a little bit of a cleaner game, but I think the team that makes more mistakes is going to lose. Let's start with the Cardinals side of things. I really like Kyler Murray this week. I think they've been holding back Kyler a little bit with the running. He still was very active and didn't really dwindle as much in the running game as we thought here, looking at the numbers. But I don't think it was the same dynamic takeoff and run, design run type deal. A lot of it was scrambled stuff here that happened for Murray. But I think that can be a big factor here because you got to get around the pass rush, Aaron Donald. You don't want to force things downfield to Jalen Ramsey. They just had an Eric Weddle, so yet another veteran on this defense that you're looking at. So use that running ability, maybe stretch the field a little bit horizontally and vertically. You're going to have some room to rumble for Murray. So I think Murray, I'm going to say he gets around 50 rushing yards in this game and really is effective there. And I think he gets at least one rushing score to help the Rams in this one, or the help against the Rams in this one, I should say. Now, in the receiving core, we'll figure out where Jalen Ramsey is going to line up. It's difficult because you don't have DeAndre Hopkins, an obvious coverage target there. So what I'm thinking here is A.J. Green might get that treatment. I think you also might see Rondale Moore return to action, and that would create another matchup issue there. And really, it all comes down to having James Conner and Chase Edmonds in the mix because Edmonds can be a big factor in the passing game. We know that. So I think you'll see a lot of short to intermediate passing, work in the middle of the field, also to tight end Zach Ertz. So I'm going to avoid A.J. Green and Christian Kirk as much as possible in this game, and I'm going to look at Moore if he can return this one. You have a Wesley on the other side that's really come on there as a big-time receiver with his size in the red zone. So the complementary receivers, Wesley, Ertz, Edmonds, maybe Connor, if Edmonds can't go in this one, should be pretty active here for Murray. And again, that's why I think Murray's footwork and running is going to be important as well as the traditional running game with at least Connor, but Connor and Edmonds would be good 1-2 punch here for the Cardinals to control the action. The Rams have been pretty good against the run by the numbers, but it's a good way to work on Aaron Donald. You can keep him from going forward. You kind of dictate the action a little bit on him. He still is going to disrupt things, so you just have to be prepared for that. But you don't want him to be so takeover worthy in the pass rush. So that means staying balanced, staying running, and I think Murray's going to be a big part of what they do. So Murray gets it done with, I think, at least one rushing score again with those 50 yards on the ground. I think he goes for 250 in the air, and at least another score there. So I think he has a decent game. I think they're going to put 3 to 4 touchdowns up on the board, so that should leave room for James Conner to find the end zone one more time here, as he was a scoring machine. I think Zach Ertz is a good bet to score the other touchdown here for the Cardinals. So, yeah, so fading the Cardinals wide receivers, lifting up their backs and tight ends, and to watch out for Moore playing, because I think he can maybe have a sneaky big role in this one, should he be active, just because he's such a tough matchup nightmare. And we saw last week those versatile hybrid players, Deebo Samuel types, can really affect the Rams defense here for the worse. And again, they'll look for the best matchups here, but I think they're going to come away from the wideouts. And it's going to be a lot of fun to see what the Cardinals do here in their first playoff game with Murray and Cliff Kingsbury. But I think they've been holding back their offense a little bit. The key is, again, being clean, being efficient, staying on the field, finishing the red zone, and don't give the ball up to the Rams for an offense. Because any extra possession with these two teams, as we've seen in the first two matchups, is not very good. Now, I do like the Cardinals to win this game. Big reason as well is J.J. Watt is returning. Now, J.J. Watt's a little older, and he's not the same, but gives you someone disruptive up front that they've been missing. And keep in mind, you've got Jordan Phillips and Zach Allen both been banged up. So this gives Watt a chance here to be very impactful, get back in the lineup, disrupt things up front. So Watt and Aaron Donald in the same game should be a good thing to watch here for sure, to see who can create havoc here. Donald in his prime, Watt a little bit older. That's maybe not the best news for Matthew Stafford. He's struggling with turnovers here. The Rams' offensive line also has not played very well in pass protection. The 49ers had a lot of pressure in the second half that helped the Rams get off the field, and the Rams facilitate that comeback for the 49ers. So keep in mind, I think this is a better run blocking team. That's why you've seen Sonny Michel with an expanded role. And that's hard to figure out what Michel's going to do in this game, because Cam Akers is in play. He was activated there in week 18, got a few touches. Sean McVay's history is to load one guy as the workhorse, give him 20 to 25 touches. Limited work in the passing game, only when needed as check down when things break down. There's not a lot of design passes, but with Akers, there could be a little bit more. So you could see a situation where Michel gets the early down work, Akers gets in there in passing situations, and it would make it a little bit messy in this one. The Cardinals can be vulnerable against the run. They've given up some big games on the ground. They're both a big play, high risk, high reward defense. They're going to get after it. So and if they can control the clock a little bit and Murray puts up some points, that's not going to bode well for Stafford. Stafford needs to play off the running game a little bit. If he's sitting back there and Watt and these other guys can come disruptive, and the Cardinals can be aggressive in the secondary looking for those big plays, and Stafford forces the ball downfield, it's not going to be a very good day for him. So it really depends on who jumps out of the gate first, honestly, to see how this game will play out. But Stafford, again, I'm going to cool off on him. He doesn't have a very good track record in the playoffs or against winning teams. So I think you'll find some better options elsewhere. Cooper Kupp, you're still going to attach to, but that's where you ask the question, is that the Cardinals cover the tight end in general very well. So we're not sure about Tyler Higbee getting going again after last week. They're also pretty good with their corners at times, but Kupp will destroy everyone inside and outside, but they have a chance against Odell Beckham Jr. and Van Jefferson to contain them. So I wouldn't extend there. I think you look at Kupp. I think Akers has a little bit more upside than Michel based on his role here. In this one, I expect it to expand a little bit here for the Rams, but avoiding Higbee, avoiding the extra receivers. I think Kupp and the running backs you look have their best value, as well as Donald and the defense, something to look at in this game, because they'll get after it too and get some things done against Murray. But again, it's all about the positive game script and not being in position to turn over the ball. This will determine who wins. I do like the Cardinals again. Their road record speaks for itself. Here, they're just better overall. They seem a little bit more focused. Rams don't really have a home field advantage either, which plays into it. Now, if this was the Cardinals playing at the Packers in Green Bay or at Tampa, where these two teams have dominated, then you'd feel a little bit that way. But I think this is primo for an upset, the Cardinals winning this game straight up. So I do like them covering the 3.5 points for sure in this game and the over. So in quick fashion here, I do like the favorite Chiefs to cover and push it over. And I do like the Cardinals as the underdogs to do their business right, win this game, and push the point total over 50 as well in this one. All right, our final segment, we'll count down the top 14 running backs backwards here, 14-1. They're in the playoffs from a reality and fantasy football perspective. We'll do that for you. Hey, fantasy football fans, this is Vinnie Iyer with an incredible app everyone who buys gas needs to know about. It's called Get Upside. My listeners are making up to 25 cents per gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now. Use the promo code TOUCHDOWN and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon in your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free and use the promo code TOUCHDOWN to get up to 50 cents per gallon cash back in your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making as much as $200 to $300 a month in cash back, and there's no catch. The cash back gets added right to your account. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or any gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use the promo code TOUCHDOWN to get up to 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. That's TOUCHDOWN, their promo code to check out Get Upside and get those extra 25 cents on your first fill up. This episode of Locked On Fantasy Football also brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march into the NFL playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022. New year and a new updated desktop and mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to get started. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC, right down to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available all throughout the year 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. All right, let's get into our running back rankings. We'll start at 14. Spoiler alert, I'm leaving the Rams and Eagles off this list between Akers and Michelle, not knowing what's going to happen there. And with the Eagles, it's pretty much a mess with Miles Sanders being hurt here with a hand injury. And we know it's a committee of Jordan Howard, Boston Scott, and the rookie Kenneth Gainwell. So we're not going to go there. And we also have a couple teams with two backs that have some appeal in this one. Speaking of the teams with two backs to watch, Chase Edmonds comes in at 14. Yeah, we're not sure about his injury, but we know he can be a change of pace and be effective here for the Cardinals. They're a run-heavy team. Edmonds has been pretty good. He fits this Kingsbury offense pretty well. So Chase Edmonds comes in as a non-feature back there at number 14. Now, we'll see if this guy can return, but he's been pretty good when they give him the ball, and this matchup against the Steelers is great to start the playoffs. And if they advance there, another good matchup potentially against the Bills. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think he can be a difference maker here, a little bit more even so than last year's playoffs for the Chiefs. They really miss what they had a couple of years ago, Damian Williams filling in for Kareem Hunt, but they want a little bit more out of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think they get it. I think having those weeks off here, even though it's a tough injury, the other parts of his body refreshed here. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that conservatively puts him at number 13 on the list. Now, number 12 might shock you that he's this low, but it's Ezekiel Elliott. If you had him in fantasy football for the regular season, you know Zeke wasn't doing much, and it was disappointing. And part of it, I think he was battling a knee injury and is playing through that. Tony Pollard, he would have been number 15 on this list, by the way, if we had that extension. But Zeke just not doing a lot here so far. And the 49ers are middle of the pack run defense. I don't know if he'll do a lot in this weekend's game. He's a little bit touchdown dependent, reception dependent, and it could be a bit of a high-scoring affair. So Elliott may be forgotten a little bit, and especially with Pollard cutting into his work a little bit. Elijah Mitchell comes in at number 11. He's been a great workhorse as a rookie for the 49ers when healthy. So they're going to ride Mitchell in that Cowboys-49ers game on the other side of it. I trust Mitchell more in that same game because, again, he's been very productive. He's also shown that he can catch passes when needed here from either Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo. So love Mitchell. We'll see if he can hold on the job ahead of Trey Sermon. Maybe he'll turn this act around here. Raheem Mostert, you figure, getting older on the injury shelf. But Mitchell starts the 49ers' latest playoff run as their feature back. Devin Singletary comes in at number 10. He's been rising. I mean, he was way off the board for a while. He would have been if we'd done these rankings just 4 weeks ago. But Singletary's so much for Zach Moss or Matt Breida. Singletary's taken over as the single lead back there in Buffalo. So number 10, he's been on fire the past several weeks here for this Bills offense. I think it continues. He stays a key part of their offense against the Patriots' vulnerable run defense to also avoid testing their strong pass defense. Number 9 comes a committee back, A.J. Dillon. This guy, tree trunks for legs. He's looked excellent here for the Packers down the stretch. The running game is just bringing it. You could have David Bakhtiari back as well. Left tackle Billy Turner has also been hurt at right tackle. So his offensive line could be better. You got the threat of the downfield passing game. You got a nice change of pace from Aaron Jones. So 9 is pretty conservative here for A.J. Dillon because I think if he was alone in this Packers backfield, he'd probably be a top 5 back there. But Dillon is still going to be rather effective here. That tells you how high Aaron Jones might be on this list. Number 8 is another committee back. It's James Conner. He was a scoring machine, as we mentioned. He was the Terminator, James Conner, there in the regular season. Took on a bigger role. Edmonds missed a stretch of games there. I think they're going to trust him quite a bit to pound away at the Rams on this one. So number 8 is James Conner of your Cardinals. Number 7, Najee Harris from the Alabama Crimson Tide. He comes in here. Look, Najee is a great back. He has a good upside here going forward. The Steelers need to upgrade their offensive line, however. The run blocking hasn't been great. That's limited Najee there, but he's been pretty good in the red zone. He's a very adept pass catcher. So Najee, important for the Steelers, but it's more not trusting things around him, elements around him in this offense. We might be limited until next year when they can upgrade quarterback and upgrade the blocking there for him. We go from one Alabama Harris, Najee Harris, to another one, Damon Harris, as we look at the Patriots lead back. Now, I wanted to put Ramondre Stevens on this list. I'm not sure how many touches he's going to get here. So just off the list with Tony Pollard here. But Damian Harris has looked good, wearing that number 37, red, white, and blue. He's going to be a big factor against the Bills. We know that the Bills' run defense has been gashed and is a question mark here. So Damian Harris should continue. He's really lived up to the part. Second-round pick from Alabama as well. So Najee Harris, Damian Harris. Let's continue to roll tide with Josh Jacobs at number 5 here for the Raiders. Yes, you think that Alabama is pretty good at producing running backs. And guess what? This guy's not the last Alabama running back on the list. Josh Jacobs at number 5 with the Raiders. Just kind of taken over here. He's finally had 100-yard games again, and they kind of rested him. They were careful with his touches with Peyton Barber and Jalen Richard getting some touches. Jacobs missed a little bit of time in the middle, but I think he's fully feeling healthy, and that lesser wear early in the season is paying off here. And Josh Jacobs should be busy. He should get 20-plus touches against the Bengals, win or lose here. But Josh Jacobs coming on here late for the Raiders, a big reason why they won 4 consecutive games, are in this playoff position to begin with against Cincinnati in Cincinnati on Saturday afternoon. This guy should be returning, the number 4 guy for the Buccaneers. It's Leonard Fournette. That's playoff Lenny, or is it Lombardi Lenny? Either nickname will do. It is playoff time. He's been on the shelf here on IR with a hamstring injury for the past few weeks. They've made it work with Ronald Jones first, and then Ronald Jones got hurt with the ankle. So he had Keyshawn Vaughn, a little bit of Le'Veon Bell, but Fournette should be returning here and be a big force. We know what he was last year. He rolled there. 64 carries there, 300 yards exactly last year's playoffs over 4 games through the Super Bowl victory. The Chiefs, he scored in every game. So Fournette, he's a guy to trust at this time of year, and will get it done there. Let's hope that he stays healthy. The Bucs need him, or they're not going to make a deep run there at all. Fournette is that valuable to what Tampa's doing, especially with the wide receiver core a little bit compromised with injuries and particular departure of one Antonio Brown. Aaron Jones comes in number 3. Now, Aaron Jones has kind of gotten to a committee with Dillon, but this is Aaron Jones' time of year. I think keeping him fresh, getting Dillon some touches. Jones is also a big part of the passing game there to help Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Jones, I think, is going to be fine with Dillon. That 1-2 punch with Green Bay, I think that's a big reason why they can settle in, run the ball between the tackles, open things up. So really love it here this week. Number 2 is Joe Mixon of the Bengals. He's had a big year. He stayed healthy, been productive, playing off that pass game really well with Cincinnati, and he can be a big reason on top of Joe Burrow why they go deep. And number 1 here is Derrick Henry. Alabama once again. I expect him to return here for the Titans. He's got a little bit of practice work there. So Derrick Henry is your number one running back. I expect him to play. I think they're going to do everything they can to get him back on the field over Dante Foreman, Dontrell Hilliard, and that matchup. So there you have it, 14-1. Derrick to the Hammer Henry about to return here to help. They'll get them there. So do it here, breaking down the top 14 running backs here in the playoffs for you ahead of the playoffs here. Thanks again for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen. We're free and available to you on all platforms. Next time we'll do this DFS. We'll look at the targets there on Saturday and Sunday, how we're breaking it down in the games overall if you're playing them as a whole. So we'll do that for you, DFS. Also give you the injury updates you need to know going into. Now make your second listen Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It's a free and available for you on all platforms. For Locked On Fantasy Football, this has been Vinnie Iyer. Have a great day. Good luck in lining up your players this week for the fantasy football playoff, real playoffs here. And we'll catch you tomorrow with a look at DFS.